Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, March 11th, 2020. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. Over the last few weeks here, we've had quite a tumble here from the recent highs near 3,400 all the way back to 2,700, reaching 26.95 and a quarter yesterday. We have pulled back pretty steeply here from yesterday's close, right after hours. Hit with selling pressure and already back to the previous session's midpoint here. This is about the spot here where if price can start to find a bit of a bottom, we may have our range for the day where we could perhaps trade inside and continue to trade within range. However, this is a major area of support. We got to see if price can continue to hold this zone. Remember, I mentioned before, 2,700 to 2,740 is a big area of support that, if broken, leads to the next major area down below, and there's really nothing left down below except for the 2,300 lows. If you wanted to go somewhere a little bit in the middle here, that'd be about 2,600, but that's still quite a ways down. So for the most part, we've had a major push down at the moment. If price can continue to hold 2,740, 2,700, that zone, then perhaps we could see some build out here, some build out between 3K and 2,700 for a bit. But again, if that level gives way, you just keep opening the door to the next major support levels down. Is this going to be an area where the market can continue to hold as it has in the past? Again, going to have to see how that continues to develop. But for right now, again, the market is in a high volatility state. You got to continue to mind your risk and pick your spots. All right, let's take a look now at the NQ here. The NQ looks very similar. This one has pulled back as well. Inside day at the moment, also pulling back to the previous session's midpoint, 2-day midpoints, selling off hard from the previous lows. What I mentioned to our group in the trading room yesterday was to watch the close yesterday, watch the high at 8,400. Any rejection there would likely lead back to the midpoint by the morning. We're seeing that move now, and this is kind of a day-to-day type of thing. A big day here, back to the midpoint here, right? Big day down here, back to the midpoint here. So we've seen a lot of that. This day here, back to the midpoint yesterday and back. So we're seeing a lot of that day over day. So keep that trade idea in mind. Again, this one, like the ES right now, continues to hold right on major support here. The 8K level down to 7,800. If there's a violation of 7,800, 7,750 in that zone, it starts to open up the next levels down, 7,200 and perhaps as low as 68s. So it could be much more downside here if price cannot find a strong low pretty soon. If we take a look at CL now. Now CL has had a pullback as well. I mentioned before that above 35s opens the door to 38, and 38 is a big time target zone here because it is the midpoint of the impulse sell-off here, and bouncing back to that 38 would give us a new key range. And that key range could give us much more key levels and targets here to work with down the road. So this one right here showing an initial rejection of prices above 35. So it did get above it early and after hours trading yesterday and was immediately smacked down pretty hard and has been dropping ever since. In the intraday time frame, it is approaching the midpoint here. What I mentioned yesterday, 32.61 is yesterday's midpoint. And if price is able to hold or test and hold that zone, then perhaps that could be a buy that leads to 38s. So got to watch that 32.50 to 32.60 zone for signs of a rejection. If it can bounce off that zone, then perhaps we could see a move toward 38s over the course of the end of the week. Right now, very bearish overall, but having a pretty strong low down here near 27s. Which is near those 26 lows from before. So again, this is a pretty impressive zone of support here, but anytime we could push right on through that zone right there and push much lower. So overall, got to see what that 32.50 to 32.60 zone does here today. All right, let's take a look now lastly at GC. Now with GC here, this one has pulled back to the Pima trigger zone. It has been slow to push higher here. But we have continued to see bulls come in and defend in the Pima trigger zone time and again. We've seen it this entire time since this uptrend occurred. This was one deep pullback here. Again, very unprecedented selling and buying here on those 2 days. But this is nice strength here, and again, defending this zone would suggest perhaps another test above 1700, perhaps to the 25% extension for the month, which is 1720. So again, we could be looking at a bit more upside here if bulls can continue to keep that 1650 zone bid inside the Pima trigger zone. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this develops the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.